Hello and welcome to my review of the Space Marine Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop. Now you're probably wondering why I'm reviewing the Redemptor Dreadnought again. Well, put it this way, I don't think I reviewed it for 8th edition when that codex came out in 2019, and also I certainly haven't reviewed it for this 9th edition. Furthermore, it's included in the Black Templars army set box, so I thought now would be the time to review it. You can get it in the army set box, and the army set box will cost you £125, or you can buy the Redemptor Dreadnought separately for £40. And yes, you're probably thinking £40, that's quite a lot, but it's a lovely kit to build, put together, and it's the biggest Dreadnought. It's bigger than the Forge World's own Leviathan Dreadnought. The only Dreadnought that is bigger than this is a Custodes Telemon Dreadnought, which is undoubtedly the best Dreadnought out there, and I'll be doing the size comparison later on in a video of that. And this gives me a chance of showing you more size comparisons than in the first Redemptor Dreadnought review that I did. So it's a £40 kit and includes a number of parts. You can equip it with the weapon that I've equipped it with, which is a plasma incinerator. I always forget the name of that one, on the right arm, or you can equip it with a Gatling cannon. On the left arm, you've got the Redemptor fist and either a heavy flamer or a Gatling cannon. I've got a Gatling cannon on mine. And if that wasn't enough, you can also equip it on the chest with 2 chest-mounted Fragstorm grenade launchers or storm bolters. And finally, if that wasn't enough, you've got an Icarus rocket pod for aerial denial. So it doesn't quite have as many weapons as a repulsor tank, but it certainly has a lot. And we're talking of 5 separate weapon systems on this one Dreadnought. Looking back on it, technically a normal Dreadnought had 3, because you'd have a main weapon, the fist, and then the other short-range weapon on the fist as well. We'll be doing some size comparisons with that as well. The one thing that won't be in this review will be the spare parts. I think it's a given that the spare parts will just be, in this case, the storm bolters and the separate heavy flamer for the fist and also the Gatling cannon. But I will show you a different Redemptor Dreadnought that's equipped with a different loadout, give you an idea. So the format of this review, I'll have a look at this unit up close and personal. We'll go through some size comparisons, and then finally I'll go through all of the 9th edition rules. So the Redemptor itself, it's a lovely kit. It's a nice little project. You'll have fun putting this one together, and you don't necessarily have to glue it in place. You know, they've designed it so that you can move the arm about and actually take the arm off if you wish, and change it with another Redemptor that's equipped with the flamer. I mean, I guess you could probably magnetize the Gatling cannon on there, but that looks quite cool as it is. You can magnetize the hip as well. You don't need to glue these chest mounted weapons. I've got the Fragstorm grenades in there. You don't need to glue this sarcophagus open. That's quite cool. You know, if you just wanted it like powering down, or you know, in a standing pose. But you can get to all the detail and things there if you don't glue it, or you can just shut it and close it. Again, for the plasma incinerator, you could take that weapon off and equip it with the Gatling cannon. So that's that. And there's enough sort of give in it. I mean, that's a bit loose just with the way that I've built it, but you can kind of, if you keep it loose, you can pose it in a way. There's a bit of articulation with this kit. And then you've got the rocket pod on the top. Big power plant there. It's a big stompy Dreadnought, and at first I wasn't massively keen on it, but after seeing it in action a few times, yeah, I am. So that's the Redemptor Dreadnought. It comes with the Black Templars army set. I honestly couldn't have thought of another unit to put in there. It was odd that they included it in, because it's not a new miniature for Black Templars, and I would have preferred them to include the Primaris Sword Brethren instead, considering that the Sword Brethren are actually cheaper than the Redemptor Dreadnought 2, and they are all new models, and they were available at the time of the army set. So yes, I think they missed an opportunity, and I think at this point there's a lot of people that already have the Redemptor Dreadnought. I would like to see them only have brand new models in these army sets. The Sisters had all brand new models, so did the Orcs Snagger, so did the Orcs Beast Snagger army set. Let's hope the upcoming Eldar release and Chaos have only new models in their army sets, but we shall see. So that's the Redemptor Dreadnought. Let's go through some size comparisons, and we'll start off with the most fun, all of the other Dreadnoughts. Now, I hope you guys are ready, because we're going to start off with a bit of a nostalgia trip. Here is the OG Dreadnought right here. This is how times have changed. I think there's a bigger size increase here from the original Space Marine Dreadnought to the Redemptor than there is from a Space Marine to a Primaris. I think there's a bigger size increase. So that's the original cute Dreadnought, and then this is the Redemptor. I could have chosen something really nasty looking, like a Furioso or Death Company Dreadnought. It's a plastic one, which I guess is a bit bigger and looks really mean with this melter gun and flamer. And yes, that is a grappling hook, which grabs enemies and pulls them close to it. I know it's no substitute for a jump pack that some of the Blood Angels ones have, but still, that's your Furioso. We'll go a little bit bigger here, and no, don't worry, don't start getting your box of tissues out just yet, because I'm not going to subject you to the abysmal plastic Redemptor Dreadnought. Here's a Forge World resin Contemptor Dreadnought, so that's where the Redemptor stands next to a Contemptor. Still very big chunky boy. Now, Leviathan. I always thought Leviathans were bigger when they announced this, and they should be really, but they're not. Here is a Leviathan Dreadnought from Forge World. We're getting a little bit crazy here, and the Redemptor is just a little bit bigger, wider. Weapons are bigger as well, although I haven't got many of these Leviathans. And then finally, the Dreadnought that does beat this one in terms of size and base size actually is the good old Custodes Telemon Dreadnought. That is a fair bit bigger than the Redemptor, and that right there is a fantastic looking thumbnail and your Dreadnought size comparisons. Of course, I can go one step a little bit bigger with the smallest of the knights. I've got a Moirax class Armiger Knight here, and that is bigger than a Telemon and a Redemptor. But then we're on to the Questoris size knights, and that's where the Redemptor measures up next to a knight. So barely up to the waist of an Imperial Knight. So that's some of the Walker comparisons. Compared to Black Templars miniatures, which is what this review or series of reviews is all about, here's your Marshal, here's your Emperor's Champion, we've got a Sword Brother, and then a Neophyte. So that's where it measures up next to those. It's going to be the biggest model in the army set if you're going to pick up the army set, so bear that in mind. The final comparisons are just with the standard Imperium models I always like to make comparison with the Space Marine, Sly Marbo and the Primaris. Yes, it's a fair bit bigger than a normal Primaris Space Marine. So if you do take a Redemptor Dreadnought, it's going to tower above most of your force and be a bit of a target for the enemy to take out. And so they should, equipped with those 5 weapons. It's a real threat. Speaking of being a real threat, I think this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought, and you'll find them in your 9th edition Space Marine Codex under Elites. Yes, this is an elite choice. but I don't think I'd personally put it in the same bracket as Space Marine Firstborn Scouts, but Games Workshop do. The power points cost of the Redemptor Dreadnought is a 9, and a points cost is 175 points. You're going to be paying 5 points more for the Icarus rocket pod and 5 points more for the Onslaught Gatling cannon. So mine right there is costing 185 points. It's not cheap, you know, it's almost 200 points there. What do you get for these points then? Well, it's one of these models, it being a vehicle, the amount of damage it takes affects its stat line. So it starts off with 13 wounds, and if it has more than 7 remaining, its movement speed is 8 inches, its weapon skill is 3+, ballistic skill is 3+, strength and toughness are both 7, 4 attacks, leadership 8, and a save of 3+. Between 4 and 6 wounds, its movement drops to 6 inches, and its weapon skill and ballistic skill both drop to 4+. And between 1 and 3 wounds, its movement drops all the way down to 4 inches, and its weapon skill and ballistic skill drops to 5+. How does that compare to, say, a Contemptor Dreadnought, for instance? Well, believe it or not, it is the same speed as a Contemptor Dreadnought. It just has more wounds. Has 13 wounds instead of 9, but it still has the same strength and toughness. Compared to an Ironclad Dreadnought though, the Ironclad is tougher. It has a toughness of 8. But there we go. A Redemptor Dreadnought is equipped with 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, heavy flamer, heavy onslaught Gatling cannon, and a Redemptor fist. Now, let's go through the big right-armed weapons. So mine's equipped with the Macro Plasma Incinerator. You've got 2 firing modes because it's a plasma weapon. It's a range of 36 inches, heavy D6, strength 8, AP -4, damage 2, blast. You can supercharge it, of course, to a strength 9 and a damage of 3, but if you get a 1, then the bearer is suffering 1 mortal wound. You've got 13 wounds, so it might be worth supercharging that throughout the game. The heavy Onslaught Gatling cannon, which is another option as the main weapon. It's a 30-inch range, it's a heavy 12 weapon with strength 6, AP -1 and damage 1. So right there, it's got shorter range than the plasma and way worse strength, armor penetration and damage, but you are getting a solid 12 shots. You know, you could just only get the 1 shot with the plasma incinerator. Now, the Icarus rocket pod, we'll just talk about that before we go on to the melee weapon and the fist-mounted weapons. So the rocket pod is a 24-inch range, heavy D3, strength 7, AP -1, damage 2, and it's a blast weapon. Each time an attack is made with this weapon against an aircraft unit, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So that's pretty good, basically hitting on 2 pluses. You just got to be wary of that range. It's only 24 inches, so effective range there of 32 inches. Now, the Redemptor Fist, it's a strength ×2, so that's a whopping strength 14. Its armor penetration is -3, and its damage is D3 +3. How does that compare to, say, the Ironclad's Dreadnought Chain Fist? Well, it is a better strength for 1. The Chain Fist has a better AP though, and the damage is 2d3, so you're getting 6. So you're potentially getting 6, but a d3 +3 is better than a 2d3, because probability you're going to get 5 instead of 4. And also, against vehicles, that Dreadnought Chain Fist is getting a damage characteristic of a straight up 6. But compared to a Contemptor combat weapon, the only difference is you're getting d3 +3 damage. The rest is the same. The additional weapons, so the chest-mounted weapon, the Fragstorm grenade launcher, it's an 18-inch assault D6, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1, but it is blast. Instead of that, you can go for Storm Bolters, which is a 24-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. And then fist-mounted weapons, you can opt for an Onslaught Gatling cannon, which is a 24-inch range, heavy 8, strength 5, AP -1, damage 1. Still pretty decent compared to the heavy version. You know, you're almost getting the 10 shots there, and you're getting the same armor penetration and damage. Or the other fist weapon, you can go for the heavy flamer, which is a range 12 inches, heavy D6, strength 5, AP -1, and a damage of 1. And of course, that attack automatically hits the target. So that's all of its weapons. A huge number of weapons, not as many as the Repulsor, but you know, it's an absolute unit with the choices that it has. This model can be equipped with 1 Icarus rocket pod, The model's Heavy Flamer can be replaced with one Onslaught Gatling Cannon. The model's Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon can be replaced with one Macro Plasma Incinerator. And this model's 2 Fragstorm Grenade Launchers can be replaced with 2 Storm Bolters. Abilities: Angels of Death, Duty Eternal. Each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack to a minimum of 1. Explodes. When this model is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. On a 6 it explodes and each unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. Keywords: Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Vehicle, Core, Dreadnought, Redemptor Dreadnought. So there you go. That is arguably Space Marine's best Dreadnought that they have. It doesn't have an invulnerable save like the Leviathan. So there you go. That is my review of Space Marine's, I say, second best Dreadnought after the Leviathan. But the Leviathan is a bit more pricey. Just a quick comparison, they both share the same stat line, but the Leviathan has 1 extra wound and a better save of 2+. It also has that adamantic shielding, which gives it a 5+ invulnerable save. Weapon wise though, the Redemptor does more damage from further away because of that Plasma Incinerator, and has that anti-air capacity. But I would argue that the twin Volkite calivers are better than the Fragstorm and the Storm Bolters for point defense. The Siege Claw on the Leviathan, although it gets an extra attack, it doesn't have the same kind of damage output as a Redemptor Fist. However, if you gave it the Siege Drill, then we're talking about a much beefier version of the Ironclad Dreadnought's Dreadnought Chain Fist. So although it is bigger, I think the Leviathan just about beats it in terms of survivability with a 2+ save and a 5+ invulnerable, and its more esoteric weaponry, such as the Cyclonic Melter Lance, the Gravflux Bombard, the Storm Cannon, and its Volkite weapons too. But I'm going off on a tangent on other Dreadnoughts. This has been my Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought review. I hope you've enjoyed it. What do you guys think of the Redemptor Dreadnought? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below as always. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.